Hello, hello. This is the after party show. After party, or the after show after party. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what this is, but this is me talking with you right here, and we just finished the Disappointed Cat morning show, and I was happy with the show. So John Hudson asked me how I did it all. How do you do it all? And my superpower is that I am not at work, so I have oceans of time, and this keeps me busy and intellectually active. That's what this does. How's it going, man? I'm on call. Worse than having a job, worse than being unemployed. I have to tell you, I remember, hey, Simply Secular Dave's here. What's up, Dave? How's it going, man?
Hey, it's good. It's good.
I'm glad to hear it. Someone, are you on call? Was that you on call? No.
Yeah, I plug in for dispatch, so work looks light today. It doesn't look like I'm going to get called for work today. So,
oh yeah,
hey, it is what it is.
I remember being on call during the 90s when there weren't any. When we didn't get a cell phone, we just got a pager. It was the crappiest deal in the world. I was managing this 4-bed house with a great bunch of guys. They had brain injuries and everything. But the thing is that the staff would just page me for the most stupid stuff in the world, brother. Everyone, they would just. So I would be at a concert. And so I get a page, and I gotta go. And of course, I don't have a cell phone because cell phones weren't a thing then. So I'd have to go find a payphone, have my quarters ready because you always had to have quarters ready.
Yeah.
And then literally put your hand up against your ear as you're talking to the person about, hey, where are the light bulbs, Andy? And it's like, you're asking me where the light bulbs are. Okay, well, I'll tell you where the light bulbs are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like as if a news reporter was standing in a hurricane and he's like, I'm out here, Tom, and the winds are 75 miles an hour. What? Where are the tissues? What?
And the word, okay, so I was on call during, when we only had pages and I had to use cell phones. And so now when I'm working, when I have been working, when I was working, and I had to give the on-call person a ring because of an emergency, there were times they just didn't respond. And some people, management, human service management people, just hate responding to their cell phones. They hate responding to on-call people. And don't get me wrong, I never liked responding either, but it's part of the job, and this is what you signed up for.
That's right.
And I would say maybe, Dave, maybe I got an attitude when people didn't respond within like an hour or two of me paging them repeatedly. And it's just the nature of things. Sometimes emergencies happen at 2:00 in the morning. It sucks, right? But sometimes the fire alarm goes off at 2:00 in the morning and it won't effing shut off. And you got to do something about it. And yeah. So that's my complaint.
Yeah, and sometimes you get that call at 3:30 in the morning with somebody saying, "Hey, we blew the breaker on the microwave room and nobody can heat up their lunch. Can you come fix it?"
The quick answer is the same as the elongated answer. It's no. It's no.
That seems like more of a you problem than a me problem.
Yeah. If you look, and there's usually a policy, right, about what you should be calling on call for. And somehow you not being able to heat up your frozen burrito does not fall into an emergency situation. It doesn't fall under an emergency situation.
Yeah. You remember that day the wheel fell off the forklift? That was the day you were supposed to call me and didn't.
Tobin Templeman, musician extraordinaire. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. Glad to see you.
Likewise.
It looks like you're outside. Are you outside or are you on a porch or where are you?
Oh, I'm indoors. The light is on right above me. Right.
I would say when Dave's on call, and I was on call for years. And I'll tell you one last crazy story of me being on call. So because it's residential work, and even when you're managing a house, you don't get paid a lot, so you have to have a second job, right? So I was working Monday through Friday managing this one house, and then I was doing these sleep overnight jobs on the weekend so that I would have some extra money in my pocket. So just as I'm driving into my overnight job, I get a phone call from On Call, and by this time I do have a cell phone. So this is a few years later, and I'm talking to the staff person, and they're like, basically they're telling me they're about to get into a fight with another staff, and because they were going to get into a fight with another staff, they've locked themselves into the office. And I'm like, for reals? And they're like, yeah, for reals. It's like, can you yell through the door and ask the other staff person to get on the phone? So yeah, and I've said this before, when I was managing and when I'm interacting with people who have disabilities, in their homes, a vast majority of like 90% of my problems that I faced haven't been with the clients or with the participants who I've served or who I've worked with. It's been with other staff people, management, the other professionals, basically, or so-called professionals. Those are the people I've had the most issues with, by far.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a friend who manages a recycling center. They do bottles, cans, aluminum, computers, all that stuff, and they have constant difficulties with staffing, and they have very few difficulties with clientele. But every now and then they have a police incident on site where somebody gets angry with somebody else and smashes a bottle and tries to stab them in the neck or something like that. But not all that often. I mean, come on.
not that often. So that's good. So Tobin, what have you been up to, sir?
Oh man, I'm actually working on a little project. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with a channel called Atheist Edge.
Yes, I do know the people over at Atheist Edge. Good people.
I've actually I'm helping out Jim with something, and just hanging out.
Good. Nothing wrong with hanging out. Yeah. I should be doing more of that. Maybe with alcohol involved.
Yeah. I'm also in the middle of trying to relocate from this beautiful view to a much larger place. And I went there yesterday. The guy had already given me the keys and said, you can go over and clean up whatever you want and do whatever you want, take care of everything. It's all ready to go. It's move-in ready. Oh. And I showed up, and the place hadn't been cleaned. There was still hand marks all over the walls and all over the light switches and everything. And this is during COVID. Yeah. And the carpets were disgusting. So I have to go over there and sort that out with him this afternoon. He's apparently calling a cleaning company to take care of it now. So my moving is delayed.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, it'll get sorted out.
I guess it's move-in ready if your standards are really, really, really low.
I think by move-in ready, he meant the people had moved out everything they own and dusted. And they had left a couple of things behind that still needed to be moved out. I think that was his idea of move-in ready.
Well, or maybe he's just saying, I'm ready to take your money now, sir.
Yeah. So, some from column A, some from column B.
Right.
Yeah, it's always an exciting event when you have to pack your entire life up into a truck and take it somewhere else. Yeah,
I can see that. So how big a space, if you don't mind me asking, how big a space are you moving into, Dave?
The wonderful place I live in here, which I have enjoyed greatly, this used to be walking distance from my office, but COVID shut down my office. My office was just over there, about 9 blocks. So I could walk down the waterfront right to work, which was spectacular. But we were in a shared office situation, and the company I worked for was a pharmaceutical company. So they were like, yeah, you can't be in an office sharing kitchens and bathrooms with 50 strangers all day long. That's just not kosher. So
Right.
they pulled the pin on that. We all went to work from home, and there's no reason for me to stay in where I am any longer.
Yeah.
I'm in a 1.5 bedroom suite up here on the 16th floor, overlooking the wonderful Stanley Park and downtown Vancouver. But I pay the same as what I'm going to pay for a half of a house with a 2-car garage, full yard, and a 1,200 square foot deck.
Yeah.
It is very close to where I'm on call to work. So, for the same amount of money, I'm getting 2,100 square feet.
Right. That's good. That's a lot of space. So, and if you don't mind me, I ask intrusive questions. I always say to people this. My name is
the worst I'm going to say is I'm not answering that.
That's good. That's good. Good fences make good neighbors. Now, are you renting or are you buying?
No, I'm renting. Yeah.
See, now this is me, right? My whole mind changes. My mind changes from when I'm renting something to when I'm buying something, because all of a sudden, if my fictitious God, if I'm owning something that size, I would be like, I got to go do the yard stuff. I got to go do the painting stuff. I got to maybe go up on that ladder and do the stuff which I'm so not good at doing. But renting, I am much more chill. Much more chill.
I for a long time, my ex-girlfriend and I rented a house from a guy who lived 3 doors away. So you would think that there would be that like hovering over. You'd always be watched. You'd always be, looked at, monitored. If you were making noise, they'd know about it. If you parked a car in the wrong place, they'd know about it. But the guy was awesome. He had bought the house for his daughter, and his daughter married a guy in Toronto and moved out of town. So he needed somebody to rent the place.
Right.
So we rented this place for, I'm not kidding, 2/3 of market value.
Wow.
And he never raised the rent on us once.
Nice.
And we loved taking care. It was an older house,
right?
But we loved taking care of it. I installed a fireplace insert to make the fireplace more efficient, wood burning fireplace. And we upgraded the internet and the capabilities of the house so that we could do our office in one room and the AV system in the other. We took really good care of the yard, and the girl I was with just loved doing gardening and stuff. And the guy he bought us a lawnmower, and we took care of the yard. And we had a beautiful yard, a detached 2-car garage and a 1-car garage inside the house. So you drove through the garage and into the basement with the car, so you could work on it down there.
Nice.
So she had a 280ZX that I got all fixed up, and back when we had like air care testing, emissions testing. So we had to get it passed through that. And then she eventually sold it a few years later. But we had a couple of cats out there and the whole house all to ourselves, and a
nice
12-foot hedge down one side of the yard that we had to take care of every year. But we had a beautiful garden in there and lots of stuff growing out there to eat. Yeah, it was great.
Cool. Tobin, are you a big house person or a little house person? I mean, what would you prefer to live in? Big or little?
I live in a tiny house. Yeah.
Tiny house. Yeah.
I'm actually building one right now. It's my last project, and then it's going to be all like landscaping and stuff like that.
Very cool, dude. I really admire people. Men who can do things, and people in general that can do things with their hands. Really, this whatever skill set I'm showing off right now, this is it. Oh, okay, maybe de-escalating really violent people, but those things. This is my basic skill set right here. When it comes to a hammer, yeah, I can hammer things. Sure, I know how to use a screw. The basics, the real basics. But besides, mowing a lawn, I can mow the lawn, right? I can paint a fence, I can sand a deck, but anything else, I am just like I have people. I know people. I'm friendly with people who can give me the friend deal on stuff, but that's about it, man. I am just
that is one of the keys to life, is you don't have to know all the answers, you just have to know who to ask.
Yeah
that's something I was taught too, was that you don't have to know everything. You just got to know which book to go look in.
Yeah.
You know, be able to.
I like that. Yeah, I have used YouTube for tutorials on how to do like basic, like how do I put like really basic stuff, like how do I put a light in my car, like in the headlights. How do I do that? And so
Really?
really, Dave, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking. Had no idea until
Some of it can get confusing. It really can. A light bulb inside of a vehicle can turn into something. I remember on my Chevy truck, you would think you could just reach around the open up the hood and reach around the backside of the headlight and take out the light. But no, the way they made this vehicle, you actually have to pull the grill off, and you got to take off parts off of the front end of it to get to where you can take and put the bulb in. Some of them are redonkulous.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I did take a look at a video. I needed to get my timing belt, a new timing belt, and I looked at the video for that, and I'm like, no.
Oh no,
That's
I
not me.
wouldn't do a timing belt either, because mechanics with the right tools can do it in half the time for half the aggravation, right? But
Yeah.
but
And
I've years ago I blew the motor out of a Honda Prelude, and I went out and I was looking for another car just to do a motor swap, and I ended up buying a car that was actually pretty decent and 1 year newer, but it had a banged up hood and it had a banged up trunk and it didn't have a nice interior in it. So I literally took these two cars apart for 30 days. After work, I'd come home and pull these two cars apart, and I built one good car out of the two bad cars, and then I sold all the bad parts and the other car for $500.
you sound like you're doing some kind of freaking miracle in the New Testament, Dave. It's like, I have these two cars, dysfunctional, malfunctional cars, and now I'm going to feed the 5,000 with them. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Well, when I moved in here, I changed all the lighting, and I had to install a new carburetor, and I had to fix the oven door. So I don't know. I guess I'm just mechanically handy. I just like to dig into things, figure them out, and fix them.
Now, this is interesting. I took the military aptitude test when I was 18 years old. And this is how I could tell that test is a bunch of BS. Because they told me, Andy Hall, you're good at everything. And I'm like, everything? They say, no, you're telling me that I'm just as good at like putting things together as I am just BSing or anything else. And they say, yeah, you can do anything. You could be an electrician or a mechanic. And it's like, I call BS on this. There's no way that this test is valid or reliable.
I think anytime you do an aptitude test like that for the military or for a job, they should say, like, choose A, B, C, or D. And then next to it, they should say, did you completely guess at this question? Because that's a valid, like, yeah, I got it right, but I had a 25% chance.
That's a very good point, because if you're a good test taker, then you can really lower the odds of you guessing something wrong.
Yeah. And at the very bottom, they should say, did you cheat on this test? Yes or no? Sure. I cheat on every test. I get better marks that way.
Right? Isn't that the goal, to get good marks? Oh, wow. It's Brainbug in the chat was talking about a story that when he was doing residential work, the work that I do, he was working in a group home and set off the fire alarm, burning bacon. Classic way to set off the fire alarm, by the way. Burnt toast, burning bacon. The office with the control was locked. The supervisor wouldn't answer. Oh, I've been there. It gets me angry just thinking about it, Brainbug. And then it went off for 4 hours, and we ended up kicking the office door in. Yeah, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. If you can muster the strength and not hurt yourself, then yes, definitely.
Loaves and preludes.
But yes,
it's actually loaves and preludes.
Loaves. Loaves and preludes. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I've gone to a place where there was that sort of situation where we had to get into this room because there was something going on and nobody had a key, and everyone's running around looking for a key. They're paging people and talking to people, and I open my wallet, pull out a credit card, slip the lock, and open the door.
You're that dude. So seriously, right? So, you know, you hang around with a lot of geeks and nerds, and you know, there's this alpha thing going on with some. You get a group of us together. Well, you get a group of them together. I guess maybe I'm at least maybe a geek, maybe not a full blown nerd. Or at least that's what my smarter and better educated girlfriend tells me. I'm more of a geek than a nerd. But that's a whole nother point. It was July 4th. We were in Boston. There was a group of us. And we were going to this. We were supposed to be there. I just want to say we were in this building. We were going to go see the.
we were allowed in. Yeah.
We weren't jacking into this office to see the fireworks, but this guy who was supposed to, you know, the plan went south. It went sideways, and people were like, well, how are we going to get the door open? We're supposed to be here. How are we going to get the door open? This guy does the same thing. He's like, well, I can do this. This is a credit card. It's like, this is not going to work. And like 5 minutes later, we're inside. And like I said, it was like Jesus doing a miracle.
Yeah, it's I have a friend who does what they call penetration testing, and
please tell. I might be qualified to do this job. I don't know.
I've talked to somebody in chat about this. I think it might have been Brainbug who was familiar with it, or one of the guys. Anyway, so a friend of mine does, they call it penetration testing, and there's electronic penetration testing where you try to get into somebody's system electronically, and there's physical penetration testing where you try to get into a building. And some of the things we have done to get access to people's computer server rooms or offices, or like we went to this one place where they said, we want you to test our system. And at 9, like we started at 9 o'clock, the building opened at 9 o'clock. So if we'd have gone in before that, we would have set the alarms off. So we waited till 9 o'clock. At 9:15, we called him, and he said, oh, you guys are here. You're starting already. That's great. We said, yeah, well, we should get together. You should, why don't we sit down for a few minutes and talk? He said, okay, great. We said, how about conference room C? Because we're already here.
Fascinating.
Sitting in there with a box of donuts and a coffee, waiting for him to show up. He's like, oh, that's not good, is it?
I got locked into a junkyard one time with two of my buddies. We needed a spare tire. We did a road trip from Massachusetts down to Virginia Beach. This must have been 1988 or so. And we were driving my 1974 Volkswagen bus. True story.
Nice.
So we made it down to Virginia. We had to change the tire sometime around, and it was a real tire back then. You got real tires as against these spares. So we put the tire on because, it went flat somewhere around Providence early on. So we made it down to Virginia Beach, but we knew we needed a new tire, at least another tire. So, and actually getting locked into the junkyard, what isn't really the interesting part of the story. So my buddy, for some reason, because I owned it, I had this crappy jack. It was like a 2-ton jack. It's really small.
A bottle jack?
Well, I don't even know the proper name of it. I just know it's the jack that can slip. It's a very slippable jack. So my buddy, Fred Milliken, great guy back in the day. He's just looking around my car because he's a gearhead. He's interested just seeing what makes the car, I guess, or what makes the truck. And I start seeing the the jack starting to slip. So I take Fred's by the ankles and I rip him out, and just like that, he escaped a narrow death. And what would have made the situation worse was that we were already locked into the junkyard and we hadn't realized it.
Yeah.
So after getting the truck right, we drive out to the front gate, and the front gate's locked. And of course, once again, 1988, no one has an effing cell phone because cell phones aren't a thing unless you're Gordon Gecko in Wall Street, and the cell phone is like this big and costs like $10,000. So what we did,
8300 or whatever it was.
I don't even know what it was. So what we did was that, of course, it was just a shitty gate. So we knocked the pins out of the hinges. So I kid you not, as soon as we've been able to, and we were just going to put the pins back in, and when we were done, and the plan was no one would be the wiser, and everything would be cool. Well, it wasn't cool because the owner came back and she was not happy with us. She was not happy with us, and she immediately went inside and called the cops on us. And we had explanations. We had to explain a few times about how we were the ones that were locked in and we could not communicate, and we were not going to spend the night. No matter how nice a junkyard it was, we were not going to spend the night in the junkyard waiting for them to come back the next day.
Yeah, I've knocked the pins out of a few doors in my day.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I have on Thursday night at 8 p.m. I haven't done the video yet or set up the video, but Thursday at 8 p.m., Michael Weissman, who does the Bible Says What podcast, is coming on to talk about his new book by the same name, The Bible Says What. I started reading it the other day, and I'm really enjoying it. So he's going to be coming on Thursday night. It's not a normal time that I stream. It is going to be a live show. And so we'll go over his book and talk all about the craziness of the Bible.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty psyched up about that. And,
what time are you doing that?
I'm doing that 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursday.
5 p.m. Pacific.
Yes, actually, that was Michael is out on Pacific time too. So I had to make sure I had the right time, because I know it's supposed to be 8 o'clock my time, but I always second guess myself so I go on my online time calculator to make sure I got the right time going on.
Yeah.
That's something to try to get my head around, is those talking to people on the East Coast or the West Coast and trying to figure out that time and wrapping my brain around that one.
Yeah.
If I didn't have the computer to tell me what was, I'd probably get it wrong most of the time.
Well, it's funny because so many people I know are international or not in the Eastern time zone. So I'm with you on that, Tobin. And we're in good company because there are a lot of smart people who get the time thing wrong too. Atheist Drinking Out Loud on Saturday. Barry, who's in Ireland. He was an hour off, but luckily he was still around. So it's all right. I thought it was for another hour. It's like, oh no, it's in 5 minutes.
I know. I don't know if you've seen the Bin podcast, the one that Mikey Famine and them run, but they're all over the place. And I think there's 5 of them, and I think they're in 5 different time zones.
Yeah, dude, that can be tough. That can be a tough slog to do. But for Tobin, what are you? You're in Central?
I'm in Central Time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, we got the whole of North America covered.
Well, we have Mountain. Isn't there Mountain Time somewhere in there too? So you got the Eastern, you got the Central, there's a Mountain Time zone, isn't there?
And technically we don't have Newfoundland or Nova Scotia covered either, but
Right.
If Shannon Q's watching, get in here. Yeah. So what's on your agenda for today? Have you hunted down another cat for your life with the girlfriend? I'm
glad you asked. We did do some analysis of our strategy on getting a cat. I was thinking that since we didn't get Lump, which was our goal cat, our initial goal cat, that we would just put ourselves in the queue for the animal shelter, and that we would just take a look at whatever cat they had around and see if it was right for us, or whatever cats they had around. Apparently they don't do it like that. It is you go to see one cat. And,
no way.
Yes. So now we have to figure out, at this particular shelter, which happens to be one of the biggest shelters in the Boston area, we're back to hunting. There are other areas here in the Boston area that we can, other shelters that we can just just make an appointment and then walk in there. So we're going to try both strategies. We're going to be trying the very specific, keeping an eye on Angel Memorial Shelter. That's the one that you have to have one specific appointment for one specific cat. And then we're going to go to other shelters and just see what they have the day that we're there, and see what happens. So, yeah.
I don't know if it's an option for you, but out where I live, there's lots of shelters, animal hospitals, whatever, that have these cats that are up for adoption. And they usually have more than they can handle in their capacity.
Yeah.
And they do have programs where you can essentially cat sit until a cat gets adopted. So if you have an overwhelming amount of cat love and you're not fickle about which cat you have in your domicile, that might be an option. And it's, it helps out the community as well.
I like the foster cat option because that's what you're doing. You're fostering a cat.
Yeah.
And I like that. I had not thought of that. Thanks. Hey, Critical Cripple.
Dave.
Woof. Indeed.
There's just not enough Daves in the stream.
Not enough Daves, indeed. Are there ever enough Daves in any stream? I ask you.
I think 5 is capacity.
5, yeah. We just did this after show. It's for the Disappointed Cat morning show. So we do that from 9 to about 9:55 every morning, Jerry. And then I just invite people over. I just invite people in, hang out, and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So, yeah.
Now, is it down to just a cat? You guys have decided it's not going to be...
We were initially going with corgis. My girlfriend's last apartment that she lived in before we moved here, there was a very heavy corgi element to that building. And it's like, corgis are really pretty awesome creatures. However, we have a 3-story condo. And unless we have a corgi elevator or a corgi, like a stair, like chair ramp thing, because I'm not going to be the corgi elevator. I am not that guy who's going to be carrying up corgis up and down 3 flights of stairs. I don't actually want to carry me up 3 flights of stairs a lot of the time, but I'm definitely not going to be the corgi elevator.
Getting the corgi up, like even if it did manage to get up, I think getting the corgi down would be more something you'd want to be more worried about.
And here's the thing, I am clumsy to begin with, and it would be just the way I go out, right? It would be, oh, it's the end of the pandemic, and I can now re-enter society, and then I would, fall down 3 flights of stairs with a corgi in my arms, trying to protect it, and that's how I snap my neck or something like that, and I just can't do that. So we went from corgi to cat. That was our decision. The cat should be able to navigate whatever flights of stairs it wants to. It may never come up to the 3rd flight of stairs. It may not want to come up. That's where the bedroom is. The main bedroom is. Now, the cat would be cool, never visiting us on the 3rd floor possibly, but the corgi would want to be with us all the time, more than likely. And I thought it would be inhumane to have an animal, that can't go up 3 flights of stairs easily, that actually wants to spend a lot of time with us. So
yeah, you don't want to turn it into a construction project either.
Oh no, dude. No. Yeah. We don't know how long we're going to be here. At the least, up until the time that my kid goes to college. So that's like 3 years, 4 years. Not that I'm thinking we might want to leave if things happen.
I think you might be able to come to Vancouver.
Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. This is the insane thing. As I'm sure most of us know, you don't know what's going to happen in the next presidential election cycle. You just don't know.
Yeah.
So
did you see in the chat that yesterday, Metro Vancouver, we have the wonderful Dr. Bonnie Henry, who's been one of the people at the forefront of the pandemic in Canada, and is doing a heck of a job despite the number of stupid people that live out here and the number of Trumpers and QAnoners. And we've had protests at in the downtown core of, not great numbers of people, but people who are protesting masking and all that stuff. But yeah, we had a new outbreak of I think it's the 3rd variant of COVID-19, and we've gone back to not being able to eat inside a restaurant anymore. As of yesterday, they put a 3 weeks. They've extended, or they've gone backwards in the COVID protocols for another 3 weeks, just to kind of see if they can bring the infection rates down.
Yeah, I saw that in the chat about the new version of the lockdown, basically preventing people here. I don't know what it's like. Well, I've seen people eat in restaurants here in Somerville. And Somerville is one of the most liberal areas in Massachusetts. Do I feel comfortable going into a restaurant eating? No.
I have to admit, I did it yesterday.
Oh, really?
Right before the last day. Well, not on purpose. I mean, we just happened to, a friend of mine was going with me to help me assess and clean the apartment, the new place, the new half of a house. Right. And I said, well, let's go get a bite to eat first, so we have a good meal in us and a couple of cups of coffee. Mm-hmm. And we went and, there's the plastic barriers, and wear your mask in and sanitize your hands. And, people are waiting in line 8 feet apart from each other to get in and that sort of thing. So we went to this place and had a lovely little brunch, if you will. And that's it. They pulled the pin. So now you can only eat on the patios, and you have to be, the patios or a takeout. Yeah. Right.
How about you, Tobin? Do you feel comfortable being inside eating, like in a restaurant?
No, not really. I since this all started, I've been in one restaurant. I ate in one place since the lockdown really came in. It was at Jersey Mike's.
Jersey Mike's.
It was really, for a sandwich, that place is got some good stuff. But yeah, I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't really even go into stores. We'll have one person run in. We'll go on our little pickup trick. Picking up our stuff.
Yep. No, I'm the same way. I bought a keyboard for my daughter because she's taking piano lessons, and we don't have a piano here up in Somerville. She does, at her mom's house. So I bought a keyboard, and it turned out it didn't work. And I was able to bring it back to a Kohl's, I think it was, or maybe it was a Target right down the street, a 5-minute drive. So I went there at the very beginning of the day, and I was able to be in and out within 5 minutes. And I feel like that was an accomplishment.
My friend just texted me a message that there's a huge fire, and can I see the smoke? I'm like, well, I can see the clouds, but maybe that's actually a building burning down.
Oh, hey, that's serious.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like how, it's horrible COVID, there's this virus out there, but it's kind of streamlined things in a way. When we've had to deal with stores and stuff like that, not having to stand in long lines or anything.
Yeah.
I'm kind of claustrophobic whenever it comes. Well, maybe I can be inside small places, but when there's a whole bunch of people around, that's whenever I start to feel a little nervous. I get a little like I want to get out now. Like there's I enjoy being with people. I really do. But when there's like in mass, that's a little worrisome to me. I always have kind of tried to get out of those kind of places.
Yeah. I have to tell you, even before COVID, going to the grocery store, and when I was married, I would do most of the grocery shopping. And when I was, working in residential homes, I would do grocery shopping too. But you really do get to see what bad thinkers and planners people are, just from a cursory visit to the grocery store. It's like, this is how you're managing your cart. There should be a whole class on cart management, on how do you interact at the deli. There should be a whole master class in that too.
And it's not just how you behave in the store, but where do you put the cold stuff in your basket? You know, you guys have those things, the wire mesh shopping carts?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're called bass carts, apparently.
Interesting.
So, you know, where do you put do you do your shopping list on your phone, or do you have a piece of paper? Do you put your cold stuff on the top, or do you put your cold stuff on the bottom? Do you use that bottom rack for pop or potatoes, or, you know, organize your shopping a little better?
Organize it. Yep. And my fictitious God, if you have anything complicated and if you can't really handle the self-checkout, don't use the self-checkout.
No.
Like if you have not mastered the skills of weighing your produce, don't use the self-checkout because you're making it worse for everybody.
Yeah, I've had to say to somebody who was at the self-checkout they scanned everything through, and then they had 2 bananas. And they're like, how do I do this? I go up, I'm like, look up B. And I said, it's just like the song, BANANAS.
Well said. Let's see.
You know what I do love?
What?
I mean, I love more than any change that COVID has brought. We have the Superstore owned by the J.D. Irving Company out here, and it's all across Canada. I don't know if they have derivatives in the United States or whatever. But what they have done for the lineup, they have like the 18 cashiers across the front, and then they have the self-checkout. But for the 18 cashiers, they have one line, and you go to the next available cashier. Yeah. Instead of lining up at 18 and having them run out of register paper and then standing there while 25 people go through the next aisle, you just go to the next one that's available. And they have everybody spaced out. They have a long line that actually wraps around the store, and it never takes more than 5 minutes to get through it.
Yeah, that seems to be a very efficient way. I've seen other stores work like that, having the one master line. So just because you have the cash register blows up, you don't, or something happens to it, you don't have to, it isn't a complete disaster. Let's see. Marmaduke Scarlet says they only had a cold or a flu. Haven't had a cold or flu in 20 years. I am envious. I've had one case of the flu in the last 20 years, I would say. And I was absolutely miserable. Knocked me on my butt and in fact, when we were supposed to be filming a short, you know, like maybe a 5-minute comedy clip film, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I can't show up. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. You're just the writer. You don't have to show up.
Oh, you're not just the writer. You're the writer.
Oh, well, you know, the thing is about movies is that the writer is typically considered to be whale poo. It is the lowest, almost the lowest of the lows. It's the director who's God. And, you know, in theater, it's different. On TV, it's different. But in movies, it's typically the writers not the most
that
powerful.
Is messed up. I mean, the story, if you didn't have the writer, you wouldn't have the freaking story.
Yeah. You would think that, Tobin, but it is true. In films, the writer is not considered to be the most or a important part, unless you're the writer-director. And that's why a lot of people go into directing, to tell you the truth, because they're writers who've just been burned enough times by crappy directors. And they're like, well, I'm just going to direct my own crap now.
And so have you directed any of your own crap yet?
Oh, yeah, I have. A few, you know, small pieces and everything. Nothing really long, just for my own enjoyment and the enjoyment of others.
Are you? I mean, pre-COVID, were you part of a group? Did you have a gathering of writers or people or some? Yeah.
And in fact, if anyone is a writer or wants to be a writer, you should find yourself a clique of people who are interested in doing that. I was part of Harvard Square script writers that met right in Harvard Square for a number of years, maybe for a decade or so. And then my schedule changed. They meet on Monday nights. It's a great group. And what they would do is that you would sign up. So there was a schedule and you would say, well, I want to bring my script in this night. And the week before your date, they would, the person who heads the group, they would send out your script to every member, and people would have a week to read it, write down notes. And then when it was your turn to be in the hot seat, people would show up and tell you how much you suck. But in all reality, it was a great system. People were very kind in their analysis of what you wrote, and sometimes they were too kind. And so, but it's a great experience in case you want to be a writer or a screenwriter, any kind of writing whatsoever. It's good to have a group that you can have something like this, some kind of honest feedback about what you're writing. Someone besides, your mom or your girlfriend.
It's what you said, honest feedback. If you're getting honest feedback from people and you're dealing with it from the perspective of this is going to make me a better writer, and not this is some jerk attacking me, and I don't have to take the advice that they give me, but there's probably a reason that they chose to bring this point up.
Yeah. And that's the thing, if only one person brings up one point, then you're like, well, maybe that's valid, maybe it's not. But if a bunch of people start saying, yeah, this is the problem that I found with it too, then that's something to really take note of. And the good thing about having a consistent group of people too, you get to understand how good their opinions actually are. Like some people just have better grasp on the art than other people. So yeah.
And you also gain an appreciation for other people's work when you're doing stuff like that, and you see something that you go, wow, this is really great, or
is that code for stealing?
Really something.
Oh yeah. So it was, it was very instrumental in how I think about story structure and setting up jokes and stuff like that. Going to that Howard script writers, definitely worth going to if you're in the Boston area.
Now, from that perspective, if you're trying to sell a script to someone like Netflix or anywhere else, there's I think there's 3 basic script templates that 90% or 87% or something like that of their shows adhere to.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you've ever used as a tool to aim for publication or to broad appeal over what you want to actually write?
I'll start off with an implied question is about formatting, right? So there is Final Draft and Movie Magic. I think those are the 2 main software programs. They will set up everything. It is beautiful. It isn't like the old days when you'd have to use a typewriter and different margins or everything. The computer does everything. So you say you want to do dialogue. Well, it will automatically put you in the right area to do dialogue in. If you want to do a description, you do that. So it's incredibly easy, which just means you just have to worry about your skill in doing it.
Software has really changed writing. It's like me, I do poems and song lyrics, and the way it is helped me organize my ideas is much better than how it was back in the day. Like carrying your notepad and you go back and you look at your stuff and you're like, damn, what the hell was I writing? Yeah.
True enough, Tobin. True enough. I mean, I think I said it on the show the other day. It's like, I think it was on the Late Show. It's like I'm trying to read my own handwriting that I had just wrote down maybe an hour ago. And I'm like, I'm going to guess at what I just wrote.
Yeah, my handwriting is not great either. And a few years ago, I was in an incident and broke 2 fingers and a bone in the back of my hand. And my handwriting is even worse now.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's tough, dude. That's tough. But so in terms of creativity, or about selling scripts, or about I think doing any kind of art, and I've said this many times, and I'm not the first person to say this, is that you can be too creative. You can actually be too creative for the marketplace, and you won't get rewarded for it, financially speaking, at least. So you might be able to create something of beauty, something of deep worth to you personally, and good art. But if it's too different, too ahead of the curve, then a lot of people aren't going to glom onto it, and it won't sell. So there's a saying in Hollywood, you want to hear something familiar, but with a twist to it.
Yeah.
It's with a twist. And so you probably know this too from just doing music, right? It's like you can push the boundaries, but if you go too far off, then people are going to be like, what the hell is this crap?
Yeah. Well, I'm not very successful. I have not been successful with my music, but that's why I kind of say, hey, people, if you're gonna be involved in art and stuff like that, just do it because you enjoy it. Don't try to please other people with it, because you may not get anywhere at all with it. You might as well just have fun with it, play with it, and enjoy it for yourself.
I totally agree with that. Critical Cripple asks, how the hell do they commission the young ones? That's a very good question, Critical Cripple. Well, the other Dave, that's a good question. You know, it's weird how individual personalities, you know, who are in power in organizations, whether they're in Netflix or BBC, for example, can really influence what programs come on. Ian Harris, who's an atheist comedian, he had a great relationship with someone at Netflix, was hoping to get his special put on Netflix. And then that person just left. They just left. And the new person that came on is like, we're going in another direction, which means F you.
Yeah. And that, you know, that's life. You got to go with the ebb and the flow of the, sometimes the person that you know leaves the place you're at and you think, oh, this is terrible, but they go to somewhere better that really wants content like what you have, and you're in with the right guy, and it's a magic moment, right?
Yep. There's, you know, just knowing, just being friendly and nourishing personal relationships helps. My old high school buddy, Brian Gordon, who does foul language comics, he was working for Hallmark for a number of years. And he got fired because no one buys greeting cards anymore. He got laid off. And he just happened to know someone over at the HuffPo, over at Huffington Post. And they're like, well, I'll do you a favor. I'll just throw a bunch of your comics, you know, on Huffington Post. And then they went viral, and now that's his full-time gig. He just draws ducks.
Yeah.
Funny ducks for a living. And he's part of a duck industrial complex out there. But yeah, partly just for knowing the right person, maintaining a relationship with them. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be good to be lucky, and you got to be lucky to be good.
No, this is very true. This is very true. Oh, wait a minute. Brainbug asked the question for the panel: if nipples had a standardized flavor, what flavor would you prefer? I'm going to start off with this. I'm just thanking my fictitious God I'm close enough to a nipple, to tell you the truth. So I will not be picky about the flavor of the nipple. I'll say anything but bitter, I guess, right?
If I had to choose, I would probably go with like French vanilla.
Oh, yeah.
Man, there's so many good flavors out there. You know, can I get it split up to where like 1/3 is like strawberry, one side's coffee, and one side's, or maybe
there are two of them.
One nipple coffee flavor, and then the other side vanilla flavor.
Oh, hey. Ooh. Let's see what you
I don't know. Am I breaking the rule, Brain Bug? Can I flavor both of them differently?
I have a rated R joke that I can't talk about on the show. And is it a true story? It's a true story, but I'm leaving it for the stage. That's what I am. I can't talk about it here.
Oh,
maybe if we were off air, I could talk about it, but I can't do it live now. It's one of those stories, you know. After a couple of pints, I'll tell you.
It's one of those things like when you get into a conversation in a bar about fake boobs.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it's like fake. Hey, if I get to see them and touch them, they're real to me.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Plugging my own crappy blog. I did a post today about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I love riffing on Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is my new favorite person in the world to make fun of. It used to be Donald Trump. Now it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. And the post was inspired. I don't know. It was something about sex dolls. It was I guess there's a company called Real Dolls.
Oh, they are so funny.
Which sells realistic sex dolls. And I thought, how funny would it be?
Going through the roof right now. Their stock has tripled since COVID.
Yes. So I thought, how funny would it be if Real Dolls made and you can see where this is going, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, boy.
And tell me if I'm wrong, if there was a Marjorie Taylor Greene sex doll, it would be sold out within 2 minutes, because there's a bunch of QAnon MAGA guys out there just salivating at the idea. So that was today's post on Laughing in Disbelief, everyone.
Didn't somebody make a story up about Marjorie Taylor Greene and someone else being involved in some sort of sex scandal recently?
Yeah, that's me. That was me. That went it was that one went semi-viral. That one did a little bit, that was the joke was that who was it, that Boebert woman, right? Lauren Boebert.
Right.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene doing an adult video together to help profit, to make money. And that was the riff on that, which I was not unhappy with. I was not unhappy. Well, they haven't fired me from Pathos if I don't do this kind of stuff, and they haven't fired. Oh, dude, that's a fire. That's a lot of
fire burning up the street from my friend's balcony, and that's only like 8 blocks from here.
Dude, that's
a good river.
Well, that is spooky hair, spooky bed hair. I've seen spooky bed hair before. I've seen spooky bed hair before. I mean, I've had spooky bed hair.
Oh, God.
This is my COVID hair, and if I didn't throw a ton of product in it, then it would be indeed a terrible sight to be seen.
Andy, I have to answer the question from Impossible God there. How can you tell the difference of a Marjorie Taylor Greene doll and her in real life? The doll is warmer.
Oh! Right down the pipe there, Dave. Just threw that right down. That's
if you're gonna set them up, I'm gonna spike them. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is about this blog post I wrote is that it's a talking sex doll too. So of course it would say all the classic Marjorie Taylor Greene, but about Jewish space lasers and Nancy Pelosi being a traitor to the country. The doll is more reasonable than that in Matt. Yes, imaginary. So this is what I do, by the way. This is what I do when I'm not here hanging out with you guys. I'm on my blog causing chaos and making fun of the powerful and the stupid and the fascists, basically. That's what I do with my time.
I love the way that you write. It's almost formulaic, and it sounds exactly like what, kind of like the Beaverton and the Onion. And it's in that genre of, it could be true, and it's just nonsensical enough to push it to the point where nobody would write this if it wasn't true.
Who would do that? Who would now, mind you, for each one of my posts, there are disclaimers in there. So, it's important to read the post. And part of it's just a moral. The moral of the story is that you should actually read. You should actually read the posts that you're sharing on Facebook or on Twitter first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken that IQ test? Or it's a test about tests. And
it's a test about tests.
It's a test about tests. It's 60 questions long, and they tell you, okay, you have half an hour or whatever to do this test. And number 1 is write your full name in the top right corner of this, or top left corner.
Right.
Write the date in the top right corner, and then it goes through draw 6 square boxes, draw an X through each box. The first instruction is read everything before doing anything.
Yes.
The second one is write your name in the top left, the date in the top right. And then it goes through all these crazy things. And number 60 is put your paper face down on the desk in the box at the front desk when you've completed the test. And the last instruction is do only number 1, 2, and 60.
That's good, dude. I've seen that before. I have seen that before. And it's a great. It's you got to read. I mean that's the great moral there is read through the instructions. And I have to tell you, I don't know if this is a do trade or not, but there are times I'll just grab stuff And I'm like, I don't need instructions. I can figure this out on my own. Right.
That's such a guy thing. You know the RTFM, right?
RTFM? What is that?
Manual.
Oh, yes.
So one time my mom was having an issue with some piece of technological equipment. And I said, Mom, RTFM. And she goes, RTFM, what does that mean? And I look at her and I'm like, this is my mom, right? So I said, read the manual first.
Read the manual first, yes.
And she goes, that's not correct, David. I know what you meant.
Barry for the chat goes, that's a quick way to read out the ADHD people. It really is. It's like, I have this stuff. I can figure it out on my... No, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're closing in on an hour, and I'm going to bust because I have more chaos to do. I am supposedly getting my tripod today.
Oh.
For the Jenga stuff. So starting tomorrow, we'll be back doing the Jenga show, which means I'll be doing the 9 a.m. show, the 10 a.m. show, and then just doing Jenga. It's going to be smaller version, a small tripod. Yep. That's like
a small tripod. It's got extendable legs.
Oh, sure. Yep. Yes.
Cool.
So I'm going to be doing, and of course on Thursday, Michael Weissman from the Bible Says That What is going to be on at 8 p.m. It's going to be more like that.
This is a little baby like cell phone on the desk camera one.
Yep.
And then I have the other one that's actually holding this camera up.
Oh yeah. Yep. So mine's going to be like the second one you showed, but of course that one has an extendables there.
Yeah, it's got a camera holder on it right now. Yeah. They're handy to have anytime you want to show the beautiful city of Vancouver.
Oh yeah. Which is burning apparently, from what I understand.
No, North Vancouver is burning.
Oh, North Vancouver.
This side, yeah.
Barry says in the chat, or just get it wrong, like a man.
Like a man, yeah.
There's honor in failure, manly failure.
Are there supposed to be sparks coming out of this? Yeah, it's an option.
Our chat is awesome. The people in our chat are awesome. There's some really good people in there.
Yeah.
Y'all get me rolling.
Indeed. All right. Hey, Tobin, Dave, thanks for showing up. Always fun, always bright spot of my day, hanging out and talking with everyone. But I'm gonna bust out. Everyone in the chat, thanks for showing up. Once again, a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for joining us, Tobin, and thanks for all the funny chats going on the side. You guys are great. Love doing this with you, and anytime, Andy, as long as I'm not dragged away to do something else, I'll come.
Work can get in the way of a lot of things, Dave. Work can get in the way of a lot of things. All right. On that note, I'm hitting the magic button.